Their faith was very strong, and I think I had their faith. And I had to make it my faith. And that was a process. And I can remember thinking back when you're in early college and you're making the most important decisions in your life, and thinking I was in control, and I was not in control. I was pregnant 9 months with my second child. My water breaks. And so we decided, grandparents are there, BJ's there, he's 3, and so he was well covered, and we had to head to the hospital. So we get to the hospital, and they're saying, oh my gosh, you're not even dilated, and we're really busy tonight. So why don't you just go in this room and go to sleep? And so I go in there and I get comfortable, and they put the little buzzer down for you, and just do this if you need us. And I thought, well, I believed him, so I didn't think I would need it. So I just rolled over and went sound asleep, but I had this clock that I was looking at. And until I fell asleep. And in the middle of the night, God had another plan. So he gave me a sharp contraction, and I woke up, and this contraction, I'm looking at the clock, lasted 30 minutes. And it was the most beautiful experience in my life. The pain dissolved. I know it was there, but I didn't feel it. And God became very real to me. I just was enveloped with his love, and it was warm and intense, and that so filled with joy that I never wanted to leave it. But it's hard to put into words because it was so unworldly. It was God, and I knew it was God. And he said, JoAnn, you're going to have a little girl, and her name is Kelley. And I hadn't chosen a name. I had several I thought of. And he said, we want to make this as easy on Kelley as we can. And so I'm going to walk you through it. He's giving me words. If someone had been in the room, they wouldn't have heard the words. It was in my head, but they were words that he's talking to me. And it's just his love for me and for Kelley was just indescribable. And he said, I don't like pain, so I wasn't going to have a natural childbirth, and I didn't do any training for that. He said, I'm going to walk you through the breathing. I want you to breathe. And we want to relax, and you want this to be as easy for Kelley as it can be. And so finally, the 30 minutes later, and the nurse came in, and she said, oh my gosh, you're fully dilated. I can see the head. I've got to stop this. And I said, no, please don't. And she ran out of the room and called the doctor, and then they wheeled me into delivery, and the doctor got there in time. And so Kelley is coming out. She's eager to get into the world. And the doctor says, it's a girl. No, it's a boy. No, it's a girl. We have a problem here. And Kelley was born with, I don't know if you're familiar with this, because I was not, but it's called exstrophy of the bladder. And it meant that she was open, she had no belly button, but from where her belly button would have been, all the way down, her abdominal area was open, and her organs were exposed. The kidney was on the outside, and it was filleted and small. And so they rushed her. They called children's. I was in Bellevue at the time, so I was at the hospital in Bellevue that we always went to, and they called children's, and so children's sent an ambulance. They didn't know right off the bat at the hospital whether it was life or death. But because of my experience with God, giving birth to her, he had given me a peace about this. And he had given me a peace about this, and I thought, we didn't know anything, but he did. He knew it all. He knew who she was. He knew the circumstances, and it was his gift to me to prepare my heart for what was to come. We discussed what was the best thing to do with the doctors there, and also their doctors at the University Hospital. And they all seemed to think that we should let them close her up. And so we did. And in order to do that, he had to break her hips and bring them around because they didn't want stress on these stitches. And they said, don't let this baby cry. I mean, they're talking to the nurses. Don't let this baby cry because it could rip her stitches out. Nobody wrote it down. So then the student nurse comes in to do this PKU test, and I am unaware of this too. And Kelly is screaming and crying because I guess you jab the heel and then if it doesn't come, I mean, it didn't come out, the blood didn't come out, so she just kept jabbing it.
Oh.
And my aunt, who was a nurse, told me later, well, you only have to jab it once and you can massage it. She didn't know. So half her stitches came out. And the very next day, the same poor little student nurse, Kelly is hooked up because she's open and you can see her kidneys and you can see the kidneys dripping, and she's got tubes hooked into her kidneys, and she's got these little baby froggy legs, you know, that just move. And she got her foot caught in one of those tubes and ripped it out of her kidney, and cried and ripped out the other half of the stitches. And so called for the doctor, and again, it's a blessing that you don't know everything that's to come. You only know what's in front of you. And the doctor didn't come down to talk to us until 8 o'clock that night. And I'm kind of, what can you do? What can you do? Type thing. He says, look, lady, you better get yourself ready for a lot of surgeries. This is only the beginning. And I thought, this poor man, he may have been good in the back room surgery, but he sure wasn't good out front.
No good bedside manner.
No bedside manner. So anyway, we decided that, and they had said, you can't, she's weak. She's been through a lot. You've got to just take her home and take care of her. So they told me how to take care of her. And it was quite involved, but it was doable. She could not wear any plastic. Of course, this is before Pampers, but even that, no, just cloth diapers. Everything has to be sterile, so they have to be washed through 5 cycles of hot water. And I had to change her every 30 minutes. They didn't want things just sitting on her. So we decided we'd go anywhere in the world, get the best doctor. And first thing we learned was the United States has the best doctors and best policies. So we worked through our pediatrician, and we got a name, Dr. Hardy Hendren. He was in Boston. First trip to Boston, we were in the hotel, Holiday Inn, and I decided I'm gonna lay her on the bed and just lay her at the foot of the cross. And I just said, God, I love her so much, I can't imagine love greater than mine, but I know yours is. And she's your child, and I gave her to God. And because we didn't know what was going to happen. So in that first visit, and he said, she has no scar tissue. I said, what? She has no scar tissue. Because of that student nurse, everything came undone. And he said, most of my surgeries take hours to repair scar tissue and work around it, and she has none. And I just think, God, you are amazing. We didn't know anything, but you could see ahead, and you planned for this so that you would get us to here with Dr. Henry.
So when you were going through all this, did you still have that peace? Did you get scared? Did you go in and out? How did that work from that first initial?
I trusted God.
The whole time you just, because of that experience that
Because of that experience, I knew he was in control. I knew I could trust him. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I had that peace. And you guys know, I cry at anything that touches my heart. And nothing touches your heart more than your child. And God also impressed on me that not to cry. Because my attitude will be her attitude. And if I'm crying and feeling bad for her, she'll feel bad for herself. If I feel sorry for her, she'll feel sorry for herself. So I could not.
How many surgeries did she have to have in total, JoAnn?
Total, we never know when she's done, but she had like 7 before she was 8 or 9 years old. And every surgery was at least 8 hours.
Ouch.
So this surgery where they were gonna remove the bladder, Mom and Dad had their whole little church in Southern California praying that it would go successfully. And we didn't know that they were doing that. And in the middle of the surgery, one of the doctors that had signed up to work with him said, well, I don't think we should remove the bladder. I think that we should see if her parents can take her home, and let's see if it will grow with her body, see if they can do a therapy to stretch the bladder. And so they didn't remove it. So I called Mom and Dad to tell them, and they say, really? We had the whole church praying that they would remove it successfully, and the youth pastor stood up and said, no, that's not what we should pray for. We should pray they don't remove the bladder. And so, another miracle.
Amazing.
Surgery. She's had implants for a while. She's had a stoma where when we had to take her home from that surgery, I hated that one because the therapy was painful. And we had to fill her with a saline solution and then she had to try to stretch the bladder and cleanse
And you
it.
never cried all through this?
No! That's a miracle in itself. Yes.
You just stayed
Julie
strong.
asked me to do this and I started crying.
Yeah, we had quite a conversation yesterday. Said, you can do it. And look at her, she's not crying.
That's perfect. She had been working at a hamburger place, and was on her feet too much, and everything started to fall out. So she had to have surgery that strapped everything up and attached it like a hammock to her backbone. And she was told she shouldn't get pregnant, but she heard couldn't get pregnant. So she got pregnant. Anyway, she was off her feet most of the pregnancy because they were afraid she would lose baby. And they had a little boy named Ben. And then she wanted to have another child. And so she went to the doctor, to this pediatrician, and said, she said, okay, only one more, don't ask again. So then Kayla came along about 2 or 3 years later. Since I told my story this spring, now it's a beautiful summer day, and I've had a little more time to think about the story and seeing it not in pieces, but as a whole. And I'm seeing it as God's redemption. This was God's redemption of Kelley. In 1975, she was born with exstrophy of the bladder, and at that time, it was hopeless. There was no success that any doctor had had with it. And I have to say, I didn't see it as hopeless, but that's the way the world saw it. And the reason I didn't was because of that experience, that personal experience God had given me during her birth. At that time, no one had dealt with exstrophy of the bladder successfully. In fact, no one had even heard of it, except a few urologists. We learned later that what they did in Seattle would not have worked anyway. But God had other plans for Kelley. What he did through the student nurse prevented any scar tissue and directed us to look beyond Seattle. God could see into the future, and he led us right to Dr. Hendrick. He was in Boston and was very innovative and a brilliant doctor. Other doctors signed up for years to work with him. The work he did with Kelley was over many years and through many different surgeries, and is written up in medical journals. Fortunately, since Kelley was born, medical science has continued to improve. But prior to that, children suffered from continuous bladder infections and a very bleak future. All throughout these surgeries and the many therapies and care that Kelley received at home, she never had a bladder infection. We learned that was unheard of. The doctors were amazed. They'd never experienced that before. And as careful as I was, that would have been impossible by human standards. Our God is an amazing God. He can use even the worst adversities in our life to bless us and to bring Him glory.